Whoa, y'all are asking the hard questions here. I'm not gonna turn around and just twerk facing the audience. I did not have to pay any tuition money if I left the first week. What do you do if someone asks you to do something against your values? What to expect / how to prepare for a professional audition? I got rejected from the majority of schools I applied to. These questions are like a little bit more deep. Have I ever doubted my career choice?
Hi everyone, my name is Camille and welcome back to my channel. This is Jax, my dog. Jax, can you say hi? Here he is. Yay, here he is. He's so sweet. He's my little puppy. He's 5, so he's not really puppy, but oh my gosh. Anyways, he's sitting next to me during this video. You might notice that my room is a little bare, and that is because I'm moving to New York very soon, and by the time you see this video, I'll already be there. But a lot of my stuff is already packed. Do you see him? Look at him. He's just a baby.
I was going to start with a little bit about me, but no need because the questions will answer. I'm just gonna jump in. The first one is, how did you get into theater? Why did you start doing theater? I got this question a lot. I feel like I've always known what I wanted to do. I never had to like wonder. I've always loved to sing, dance, to perform, to get up in front of a group of people, to make up skits. Classic, outgoing child. When I was like 7, I literally have the memory of me writing down in a journal, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I made a list of like everything that I ever wanted to do, including be a mom, be a babysitter, and actor, singer, dancer. But I didn't write that. I wrote movie star, pop star, dancer. I did not know what Broadway was, and I didn't even know what musical theater was, although I did in a way, because my favorite movie at the time was Mamma Mia. And my other influences were Miley Cyrus and Selena Gomez. In another Cinderella story, Selena Gomez acted, sang, and danced, and Hannah Montana, hello, like she was doing all of that in that show. That's kind of where the inspiration came from, so I told my mom that I wanted to be an actress. My whole family is super athletic, and my mom was a professional dancer, so that wasn't completely out of the blue, and I had danced before a little bit. This was very surprising to her because no one in my family is really super artistic, and no one sings or plays instruments at all, and no one acted. So she was like, you want to act? That's odd, but okay. And obviously it's easier to sign a kid up to do theater than film. You can't really just sign a kid up for film classes in the middle of Texas. She started by putting me in a theater workshop that was just like a couple hours long on a Saturday, and I loved it. I have a memory of playing the taxi game in that class. That's kind of all I remember. Because I liked that one day class, she was like, okay, I'll sign you up for a show. I did my first musical, and then a couple years later, I kept doing musicals and plays. Finally, when I was 12, my mom decided, okay, she likes this, so she decided to commit to driving an hour away to let me take film classes. I did film classes for a few years, and then when I was like 14, 15, I was like, actually, I think I like musicals more. And obviously by that point in doing musicals and plays, I had discovered what Broadway was, and I was very obsessed with Heather's Legally Blonde and Bring It On, because that was like 2012, 2013 time when I started. Jax, can you stop? Leave it. Look away. Look away. There's like golfers outside. Oh, shh. Also, a very early introduction to Broadway was the Into the Woods shot, which is funny because then I ended up going to Missouri State University, where Robert Westenberg, who was the original Prince Charming and Wolf in Into the Woods, was the head of the program, which is crazy. Anyways, that is how I got started in theater. I started taking voice lessons, dance classes, and acting classes. And by the time I graduated high school, I had been in 45 full productions of a musical or a play, which is insane. Super thankful to my parents for driving me everywhere and putting me in all of that stuff. The next question I got is, how did you start your professional career? When I was 16, that was the first time I went to a professional audition. I am from Dallas, the DFW area. There are a lot of professional theaters around here, so by the time I could drive, I started driving myself to professional auditions when they popped up. First time I got cast in a professional show was when I was 17, and it was going into my senior year of high school. During my junior year, I decided that I did not want to come back to my high school my senior year because the theater program was making me mad. I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to just go and do professional shows. So I dropped out of my high school to be homeschooled, and I only had 2 credits left, so I just did dual credit college classes. And then I got into a professional show, so it worked out, and we did 8 shows a week. Half of them were during the day, during the school day, so I would not have been able to go to class and be in that show, so it worked out very well. But that was my first professional show, was Beauty and the Beast. Just throughout college, I kept auditioning, obviously, and I kept doing shows throughout college and in the summer. What was the process like auditioning for the national tour that I did? If you don't know, I just finished doing a 9-month-long national tour, Paw Patrol Live, A Mighty Adventure, so a non-union tour, and it was a children's show. About a month before I graduated, I got an EcoCast on Actors Access. I didn't really know what Paw Patrol was, but I just submitted to it because they said they needed someone 5'5" to 5'6", gymnastics, so it was an athletic triple threat. So I submitted for it and I got an EcoCast, and I actually had 4 EcoCasts due like that same weekend, and I was super busy. It was coming up on my senior recital, and so I did the other 3, and then I didn't do the Paw Patrol one. I ended up getting the EcoCast a second time. Just asked for a pop song and your dance reel. Sent them a Hannah Montana song that I filmed in 10 minutes, and it was the first take that I got where I remembered the words. A few weeks after that, right after I graduated, I found out that I got an in-person callback. So I flew to New York on my own dime, of course, and I did a monologue that they had given me in advance, and they asked for, again, for us to bring our own pop song. I sang a different Hannah Montana song, and they said, come back tomorrow for the finals. That night after the first callback, they emailed me extra material that we might be doing. The next day, we do the dance call. I ended up not making a cut, and I waited for a long time. I did the song and I did the scene twice, and they gave me a note before I did it the second time, and I took the note. Then I left, and then like 2 weeks after that, I got a email that said that I was being considered still. A week later, they sent me an offer. That is how that process worked. Now let's talk all about auditions. I got a couple of questions asking about how to deal with audition nerves and overcoming anxiety around performing or auditioning. A lot of the time I think performance or audition anxiety is kind of rooted in insecurity and fear that people will judge us or not like us or not like the talent that we're putting out, because it is scary. The best way to kind of get over that, very much easier said than done, is to not care what they think. Having confidence in yourself and your ability is the best way to overcome nerves, because if you are really confident in what you're presenting, and you can allow yourself to have fun, and you just won't be as scared or anxious. Try your best to reframe it, and I'm not nervous because I'm scared. I'm nervous because I really care about this and I'm really excited about it. A lot of this anxiety about performing or auditioning comes from mindset. Focusing on what you can control and not on what you can't control. First of all, you need to define who you are as a person and who you are as a performer and as an artist. If you have defined already that I am talented, I'm a great performer, then when you go onto a stage or you go into an audition, you are not waiting for them to say if you're good or not. You already know that you're good, and therefore you're not gonna be as nervous about what they think, because if they don't think you're good, well, they're wrong. The earlier you can start trying to shift your mindset this way, the better. I didn't really get there until college, and throughout college, it was a big fight to try to change my mindset this way, because I was very much concerned about what other people thought about me. Now, I don't really care as much, and I'm very much confident in myself and my own abilities. Very practical tips is control what you can control and don't worry about what you can't control. So you can't control how early you show up to the audition, how prepared you are with your material, how you set up your environment before the audition. If you're in an audition room and it's really crowded and you're overwhelmed with the people, step out into the hallway. Put in noise canceling headphones and tune everybody out. Maybe play some music. Maybe that's really calm music. Maybe that's really hype music. Maybe you journal before you go into the audition of how you're going to think and how you're going to change your mindset. Maybe you pray before your audition, or maybe you're someone that zoning in, being in your own world and in your own head doesn't help, and you need to talk to other people. Find someone to talk to. If you don't know anyone there, introduce yourself to someone, meet someone new. Do some breathing exercises right before you go in to make sure that your heart rate is low. These are all really good things to help battle the nerves, but again, the fear and the anxiety, that's coming from a deeper place, and we need to change our mindset for that one. It's impossible to be anxious while you're practicing gratitude, because if you focus on things that you're grateful for, it's really hard to be scared. I literally did probably the best I've ever done in an audition in that callback, because I literally spent the days and days leading up to it telling myself, this is how I'm gonna think in this audition. I cannot be nervous about it. I have to go in excited, and I have to go in it confident in myself and my ability to do this material. Mindset, all about the mindset. The best ways to find auditions are Actors Access, playbill.com on the jobs section, probably Backstage, and then just individual theaters' websites. What to expect / how to prepare for a professional audition. I think how to prepare is kind of similar. You just want to make sure that you have a book of songs that is prepared, that you know the entire song of, and you have cuts prepared. Always making sure that you have a headshot and resume and multiple copies preferably with you, and always making sure that you're prepared for anything. Prepared to dance. If you're dancing first, prepared to sing, vice versa. If you're singing first, this is what to expect. Usually in an audition, there's a holding room. Either way, before a dance call or a singing call, you'll check in. Usually the monitor comes and gets you, and if they haven't already taken your headshot and resume, they'll ask you for it then. Then you go over to the accompanist and you tell the accompanist what you're singing, tell them anything that's necessary that you need to. Then you will go to the center of the room, and I always wait for them to say something to me. Usually you're not gonna slate in a professional audition unless they need a slate on tape if someone's not there or they want a record of it. But if it's just in person, they're not filming you, they probably won't have you slate and they'll probably talk to you and it'd be more personal. Then you look at the accompanist and you kind of indicate that you're ready to start. You sing your material, and when you're done, make sure the piano is completely finished. Look back at the table and break out, indicate that you're done. Sometimes they might ask for a different song in your book. Usually they just say something like, thank you, and not much more. And then you get your book and you walk out of the room and that's it. Depends on how it's structured. Sometimes if you're singing, they might say, we want you to come back to a dance call later. And I would say most of the time at a dance call, they are making a cut and doing a second dance call, or they're making a cut and having people stay and sing. Especially if you're doing a dance call, always bring your book. But even if you're doing a singing call, always bring dance, because you never know what's gonna happen. If you're starting with a dance call, you show up, check in, then you go into the room and you start warming up. You warm yourself up. You either need to come warmed up or come extra early and warm yourself up. Make sure you give yourself 15 to 20 to 30 minutes even to make sure that you're fully warmed up before the audition starts. They'll teach the combo in about 20 to 30 minutes. They'll have everyone go to the sides of the room and they will call you out by name in a group. And usually the groups range between like 3 to 6, and you will do the combo. And then usually they have you switch lines and do it a second time. Then after everyone's gone, sometimes they might have people go a second time. So make sure you haven't completely dropped out and let the choreography slip from your mind. Usually they have everyone leave the room and they discuss, and then they will come back and say, these are the people we're keeping, maybe be to do a second combination or to stay and sing. That is the gist of how professional auditions work. To prepare, I mean, for dance, just bring all the shoes you have, wear something you can move in, come warmed up. And for a singing audition, just making sure that you know the material in your book really well. Now we're gonna talk a little bit about college auditions. I got several questions about that. Someone asked, what was the process of applying to a college for musical theater and what was earning my degree like? Very, very, very briefly, I'm gonna talk about my college audition process. I applied to 29 schools and I choreographed my own pre-screen. I started doing college audition workshops my sophomore year of high school because, like I said in the beginning, I've known I wanted to do musical theater for a long time. I started working on the application and the essays in like August, filmed my pre-screens in September, October. I did Moonifieds in November, and I had my first on-campus callback that month as well. Then I did Chicago Unifieds. I got so many rejections. I got rejected from the majority of schools I applied to. I got my first acceptance in February. It was a very stressful process. I was very much so nervous going into the auditions, but I did get into several schools and I picked one. This was 2020 when I graduated high school, so I did not get to visit any colleges in person. I went to one, I got there, I did the first 2 days of classes, and I was like, I don't like this program actually, but I had no idea because I didn't get to visit it at all. I ended up leaving after the first week because I did not have to pay any tuition money if I left the first week. I left and I went home and I continued training at home. Quick Jax update. He's laying with his face on his animal right next to me. I love him. He's the sweetest puppy ever. My second semester, I was able to start at Missouri State University. I went there and graduated in 3.5 years in May 2024. So that was super fun and exciting. Advice for college auditions and what makes you stand out in a college audition. It's really cliche and everyone talks about this with college auditions, but it's just true. It's just true. 18-year-olds struggle with this. Be confident in who you are and be yourself. And it's just like I talked about at the beginning. You have to decide who you are, what you think about your talent, instead of looking for answers and looking for worth and value in how many acceptances you get, what schools you get into, if you get into a top 10 school, if the casting team likes you, if you get into more schools than all your classmates. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. And you have to understand that it is not personal. College auditions is like auditioning for a show, but you don't know what show it is. So you have to be yourself because you can't try to be what you think they want. Some programs will be trying to replace types that they're losing in graduation for seniors. You don't know what they're losing in that senior class. So if they have 5 amazing female dancers and they don't have strong dancers in the juniors, sophomores, freshmen, well, in their next freshman class, they're gonna be looking for really strong female dancers because then their program will have any good dancers. So if you're not a dancer first, then you're like, oh my gosh, they hated my singing. No, they maybe thought you were so talented. Maybe you were more talented than other people they saw and accepted. You just didn't fit the type they were looking for. It literally goes like that. And it's so bizarre. Truly what makes you stand out is being authentically yourself and being really truly confident in who you are and the material that you're presenting and being really, really prepared. Someone else asked me about my wise words about BFAs, and this is my 2 cents. I have a BFA, but you do not need a BFA. There are so many paths. The college audition process is insane. Every program takes definitely less than 5% of applicants. And if you break it down by like male, female too, because they only have so many spots for men and women, that's even more insane. Statistics are so small of the chances of you getting in. You can't judge your talent on that. You do not have to go get a BFA to be successful. You can get training in so many ways, and BFA is not the only way. A lot of the growth that I did in my 4 years at college was from my own self, my own work ethic and me seeking out how to be better and how to utilize the resources I was given to the best of my ability. It's not about the program you go to, it's about what you put into it. What you put into it is what you're gonna get out of it. A lot of people were asking me, okay, I'm a really good singer, but I'm not a good dancer or actor. How do I get better? Or I am a really good dancer, but I'm not good at singing. How do I get better? First of all, lots of misconceptions on, well, I'm just not a dancer. I'm just not a singer, not yet naturally gifted in that, so I just can't do it. You can improve in singing, you can improve in dancing. Anyone can learn to do those things, even if they don't have much natural ability in them. It's like any other skill. Biggest piece of advice of how to grow in a skill is put in the hours, put in the work. There is something called the 10,000 hours theory, which is you need to put 10,000 hours of dedication to working on a certain skill or craft in order to become a master at it. I think that is the most true thing ever. My dad always told me this growing up because my dad was an athlete. The best golfer in the entire world is just the guy that golfs more than anybody else. The best tennis player in the whole world plays tennis more than anyone else in the world. If you want to be the best at something, if you are like, I'm really good at singing, but I'm not good at dancing, evaluate how many hours do I put into singing? Or how many hours just in general in life have I put into singing versus dancing? You're probably gonna notice that you put in more effort in the singing. And even if it's equal, your natural baseline is, oh, I'm naturally here at dancing and I'm naturally here at singing, and you're putting in the same hours, well, then you're still gonna see a gap there. If you wanna really improve that skill in something that you are less disciplined in, and you wanna see it kind of come up and match, you have to increase the hours that you're putting in. It's never too late to start dance, to start singing. You can still grow and improve and learn. But if I have been putting in 1 hour a week in dance since I was 3, that's 20 years. Then I'm gonna have a lot more hours than you if you're starting at 16. How do you meet me where I'm at? You need to put in more than 1 hour a week then. 1 hour a week is not gonna be good enough to get to where I am because I just have more years. So then you need to start putting in 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week or whatever you can. I think that's the easiest and fastest way to improve at something. Mindset is another really big thing about it. If you identify yourself as a dancer, as a singer, and as an actor, you will start to see your actions match your identity. It doesn't go the other way. You have to create your identity first and then your actions will start to match. You can't say, I suck at dancing. Hope I get better at dancing. You're not gonna work as hard because if you say, yeah, I'm not a dancer. People that aren't dancers don't go to dance class. A dancer dances every single day. That is how you get better. I got so many questions from people asking, what is the best piece of advice for high schoolers? What do you focus on if you're in high school or if you're a teen? Like, what's the best way to start early if your goal is to be on Broadway? And I think that that is so smart and so sweet that so many of you asked me that question, and I'm so glad that you did. All the advice I already gave, absolutely. I think mindset is such a huge thing that you can work on at this age. The earliest that you can change your mindset will improve a lot more if you have a healthy mindset. But again, just training, putting in those hours. If you can get in dance class, get in voice lessons, maybe even take acting privates or tap. Improv games are so fun, and that's really good training. Even if you wanna Google improv games and see if you can get your friends to do improv games with you. That's something you guys could just get together and do for free. And it's really fun, and you learn a lot of valuable acting skills from doing things like that. Being in shows and training are both equally important, I would say. You can learn a lot by being in a show, but if you are constantly putting yourself on a deadline of like, the show has to be great by this point, that's a great skill, but there's even more that you can get outside of that, just training in dance class and being in voice lessons and just strengthening your voice overall, and not just how can I get to where I can get to this point in 4 weeks and 6 weeks and 2 months. Doing the training is so important, but also doing the training without applying it to shows is also not good. Don't be hard on yourself, just do as much as you can do. A lot of professional theaters offer classes, and I think that's a really great thing to do. The place that I took a class at was the place that I did my first professional show at. The director had seen me around the theater and knew that I was a hard worker because I'd been taking classes there, and she could ask the teacher of the class. Taking classes at professional theaters is a really smart thing to do, and I think like once you turn 16, a lot of professional theaters will have teen casts. You can start auditioning for professional shows when you're 16. And again, it just depends on where you're from and what area you're in, but I think that that's a really good thing to do if you can. Okay, these questions are like a little bit more deep. Like, whoa, y'all are asking the hard questions here. Somebody asked, what do you do if someone asks you to do something against your values in a show? This is such a good question, and it's really good for every single person to consider. I am a Christian personally, and some of the other questions are about that. This stuff applies to everyone. I think something that's really important is to identify early on, okay, what are my boundaries? What are things that I will not do in theater? And even exploring, okay, what shows would I not want to be in because of the material, and what roles would I not want to play because of what's being asked of the role? Learning how to say no in theater is really important because there are, unfortunately, a lot of people that will abuse their power or try to push past your boundaries or try to get you to do things that you don't want to do or just do things that are just straight up not safe. That's really unfortunate, but it is the reality of this industry, and hopefully it changes. But it's really important to be firm and rooted in your identity and in your values and knowing who you are and what your values are. That is the most important thing, because then when you are confident in that and you know what those are, you will be able to say no. My amazing professor, Sarah Wilcoxon, taught this to us, and she literally made us practice saying no, or even just to say, let me consider that and get back to you, instead of just saying yes to everything. Start by doing it in low stakes situations, because in theater, it's probably gonna be higher stakes, because unfortunately, here's the reality is if there's something that I won't do and it's a show I'm already casting, I have to be okay with whatever the consequences are. If there's a certain dance in a show, or I'm not comfortable doing this choreography as it is, they're probably not gonna change the choreography for me if it's a group number. So they might just say, okay, well then you're out of this number. Or if I say I'm not comfortable doing XYZ, there's a possibility I could get fired for that. That is just the reality, and you have to know going in, okay, that's the worst case scenario that could happen, and it's a possibility. Obviously, it depends on what you're asking. There's some things that are gonna be things that they can accommodate for, and some things that they probably can't, and it's just unfortunate. Evaluating what shows would I not do, what roles would I not play, so that way you don't even need to get into that situation. You don't even audition for those roles. But if you do get into that scenario, again, you have to be firm enough in your values and in who you are to know that this is a hard line for me and I won't sacrifice my values to do a show. And no, there might be consequences for that, including you might not be able to be in the show anymore, or you might not be able to be in that number. How has your faith affected your life as a performer? It definitely affects me as a performer and the choices that I make on stage and costumes that I'll wear. And again, like I said, shows that I'll do and not do, roles I won't play. And a lot of people have asked me those questions before, and they are such great questions. And it's really different for everyone and just what you're personally convicted on. And for me, I have had a few instances where I have talked to wardrobe and said, hey, I'm not really comfortable with this specific costume. Is there anything that we can do? And that is something that they are usually really great about adjusting. Then there are just certain roles and things that I won't audition for, I won't do. In college, I was called back for a character in a play, and there was a lot of heavy language that the character used. And I said, I'm so sorry, but I don't feel comfortable with the language now that I've like really read the script and looked at what this specific part entails. I am not comfortable doing the callback. I missed out on possibly being in that play. So there's certain things that I miss out on, but that's okay. Totally fine with me. And it just informs my choices. So I know most every character that I played has different values than me. Most of the characters I've played have not been Christians. I don't know if I've ever even played a Christian, but there are certain things I'll do on stage that I won't do off stage. And there are certain things that I'm like, yeah, I won't do on or off stage. There are certain things that I may not make the same choices as other people because I want to make sure that I'm not compromising my values while being on stage, right? But I'm still telling the story well. When I was in Legally Blonde, I was in the ensemble and I was one of the sorority sisters, and we have to like shake our junk a lot. I was still doing that in a way that I was comfortable with. I'm not gonna turn around and just twerk facing the audience, right? But I'll do like this or something like that. Find what makes you comfortable. I also got some questions about balancing being a Christian and doing theater, or balancing mental health and doing theater. You have to figure out what your non-negotiables are, what you need to do every day for yourself. We all have time, and it's just about if you make the time or not. For me, I've built journaling into my daily habits while I was on tour because that was really important for my mental health. Reading my Bible daily is a habit that I have, and praying. The Bible says to pray without ceasing, so I try to pray a lot throughout my day and everything, but reading my Bible and journaling are things that I try to do every single day. You have to make time for it. So if I had to get up early and go to rehearsal and I didn't have time to do it before because I'm just not a morning person, I'll make sure that I do those things before I go to sleep that night. It's all about what you make a priority. So you have to make your mental health or your relationship with God a priority in your life. Decide that they're non-negotiable, and I'm gonna do this every day, and then keep that promise to yourself. I've talked about confidence and identity a lot in this video. It just applies to so many things. Someone asked about imposter syndrome, comparing yourself, and somebody specifically asked me, do you ever feel doubt about your career or your talents, ability to pursue this, or what you wanna do? How do you deal with rejection? All of this goes along with what makes me valuable. Am I putting my value and my worth into material things, into success, into outcomes, into what people think about me? Or have I already identified that myself? For me personally, I know that because God created me, I am valuable, even if I do nothing with my life. I'm valuable because I'm created in the image of God. And that is something that is easy to like logically know, but hard to like truly believe with like your heart. You have to put your identity outside of this career. You have to have confidence within yourself, and it's really, really hard to do, but it literally changes everything. Have I ever doubted my career choice? No. Have I ever doubted my talents? Absolutely, because I let other people's opinions of me inform my talents. What you look for, you will find. Whatever you're focusing on, you're gonna find that. If you look for red cars, you're gonna see a bunch of red cars. And are there more red cars? No, you're just noticing them because you're looking for them. If you're looking for people to doubt you, if you're looking for evidence that you're not good enough and that you can't do this career, you will find it. But if you're looking at the opposite, you will find that too, and you won't notice or focus on the negative things anymore. And if you're not looking for anything, or if you're looking for anything that's coming at you, you're gonna find the negative. So you have to purposefully choose the positive, because if you don't choose anything, you're gonna get negative. That's kind of how I was. I was just like, everyone tell me what I am and what I'm worth. When people said positive things, they just kind of flew by me. But when people said negative things, they stuck to me and I made them part of my identity. Someone said that I can't sing when I was 10, and I held onto that for 10 years, literally. And it didn't matter if 30 other people told me I was an amazing singer. I didn't believe any of them because someone told me that I sucked. You're always going to look for evidence to fit your narrative. So you need to change your narrative and make it positive. The final thing that I'm gonna say that hits really hard is words can only hurt you to the degree that you believe they're true. Decide who you are, decide what your qualities are, decide what your talent is and how good you are. Once you do that, words that go against that can't hurt you. Dealing with rejection, don't view it as rejection. They picked somebody else. Even in a show that you're perfect for. It's still like the college audition thing of you don't know what they're looking for. I walk in, they don't pick me, and I think, oh, they must think I'm not good for this role. How do I know they thought that? I am projecting my own thoughts into what I think the casting directors are saying. It's not productive. I do not view it as rejection because they're not rejecting me. They're not rejecting my talents. They're not saying anything. They could love me. I could be the most talented person they saw all day. And it doesn't matter if I wasn't the right fit for whatever they specifically were looking for. If not every person on the creative team agrees about me that I'm the pick, they'll pick somebody else. It's not a big deal. Honestly, don't view it as this big thing that they are personally attacking you. Rejection isn't personal. And it's not an attack. I talked way longer than I thought I would. Y'all just asked me really good questions, so sorry about that. But here are some rapid fire ones that I'm gonna answer so quick. Save them for the end. Here we go. What's your dream role? Elle Woods in Legally Blonde. Dream show? Anastasia. Favorite show you've done? A Chorus Line. Favorite Sondheim show? Sweeney Todd. Into the Woods is a close second, but I love Sweeney Todd. I think it's genius. Favorite style of dance is jazz, musical theater jazz. My favorite thing about doing a tour is getting to perform in really cool theaters and going to so many different cities and getting to go to new places I've never been before. Good boy. Oh my gosh, Jax has moved again. Here he is. What's your favorite part about working in musical theater? When I'm on stage, I feel the freest that I ever am in my whole life. Like the freest to be me, the freest to be myself. If you could be a dancer in any Broadway show, which show would it be? I think MJ, because that dancing is so cool, or Moulin Rouge. Honestly, I think probably Moulin Rouge because that partnering, so good. What is my dream theater? The Muni. Would love to work at the Muni. And I also would really like to work at Theater Under the Stars in Houston. That just seems like a cool theater. What are you most excited about now that you have your own place in New York? I am so excited to move, you guys. I move in 2 days. I'm so pumped about it. I am most excited about getting to go to Central Park every day. And lastly, what was the first role that I played? Sophie Ickes in An Unnamed Orphan in Annie. And then I was in Annie a second time, like a year later, and I was Pepper. But that was the first, was Ickes, who's just someone in like the presidential cabinet. Sophie, I had like 2 lines in We'd Like to Thank You, Herbert Hoover. And then I was just an unnamed orphan. Thank you guys so much for asking all of those really good questions. I hope I did justice, and I also hope this video isn't 2 hours long because I feel like that's how long I've been filming.
That is all. So thank you for watching. Subscribe, comment, and like this photo.
Make sure you're caught up with all of my Moving to New York videos. I will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for watching.